Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to the garden. We are doing a June garden tour, and we're actually doing it early in the morning, which is one of my favorite times to be in the garden during the summer. I actually want to start off with some super exciting news. And by the way, my name is Kate. I'm a plants woman. I'm a landscape designer living and working here in the greater Seattle area. And if you have not subscribed, come along. It's free for you. It actually does a huge wonder for me with that whole YouTube algorithm. So I would love it if you would subscribe. We're here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, bringing you just tons of garden goodness and a little bit of design secrets, a little bit of distilling of the knowledge that I've gained over my lived experience in the horticultural industry. So come on along. It's a darn good time. I'm going to put my coffee down for a second because it's show and tell time. Are you ready? First bit of show and tell is actually from the Seattle Times. This is an article that came out yesterday. It was written by a friend of mine, Erica Brown Grievous. She's an incredible author, and it is actually covering one of my very favorite topics and something that I didn't realize. It's actually up 18% in terms of search terms on the online landscape design platform called Yardzen. It is the cottage garden, and I am feeling like we need to do a whole video just on the cottage garden aesthetic, but here we are. This was such a fun article to contribute to. I touch on a lot of like the key themes that I bring into my design work when I have someone who approaches me and asks for that classic cottage garden aesthetic. Now, if you've never heard me talk about my own personal design aesthetic, I don't believe that someone is like, I am a cottage garden style and that is it. There's always a supporting cast that comes in when we're talking about assessing someone's design style and then ultimately manifesting it in their garden. So a cottage garden is one of my supporting elements, and I'm going to show you some of those things I'm doing in my garden that are leaning in to that cottage garden aesthetic. And I've got a couple of them right out here in the front garden. Okay, are we ready for show and tell number 2? And this one I actually cried when I got it in the mail. So it's a big deal for me. So just over a month ago, I got a package in the mail, and Brian was like, yeah, you got this like thick envelope. And I was like, well, did you open it? And he goes, no, it's your mail. Open it when you get home. So I got home and I opened it, and I'm just going to show you guys. It's not only Country Home Magazine. It's not just Country Home Magazine, but this is my first ever magazine article. The focus of the article is mainly on the house, but these are dear clients of mine. They were really sweet. They insisted. They were like, Country Home, you better put her name in this magazine because the home would not exist without her. And I just, this is my clients in a nutshell. They are caring, they're loving, they're giving people, and they want to make sure to give credit where credit is due. And their garden has been just a labor of love, and I'm there all the time. In fact, I was there on Thursday doing a little enhancement to their front entry area. We put in a new hydrangea hedge. It's so good. But anyways, you can see here this beautiful, beautiful article. It's titled Welcome Home. This is going to be on newsstands through August 14th. Oh, you guys, I don't want to crease it. I'm such a nerd. But there you are. Look at that gorgeous entry. My homeowners here, their style is very, very, very reminiscent of the UK garden aesthetic. Good balance of structure, whimsy, but also very cottage garden vibe. So we've included a cotton garden area that we're developing. There's a separate cottage. It's really good. And also their style is never ostentatious. It's never standoffish. It always feels warm and welcoming, which is one of the design markers of the cottage garden aesthetic. So pick it up on newsstands near you if you want to peek inside this glorious home. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at this waterfront view. Can you believe? Can you believe this is where I get to work? And they're the most beautiful family. And I feel so grateful to be involved in the curation of their garden and their space. So anyways, Country Home, you guys, This is a big moment for me. So we're going to start here in the front border. And you guys, the front yard has gotten a little neglected this spring with how much work I'm doing in the back. But there are still some things, some little combinations that I'm loving, and also some things I'm going to start working on because it isn't quite hitting just right out here. We're close. We're very close. But I'm actually going to do something I've never done before out here, which is bedding plants at my own home. I will show you the selection we're going to work from, but I have some leftover product. I typically don't install bedding plants at my house. It's just not something I gravitate towards. It's not a style I gravitate towards. But we're going to do it out here this year because your girl's out of time and I want some immediate color. So I'm going to take you down the row and I'm going to show you what's blooming, what's looking good, and how we're going to zhuzh this up a little bit in future videos. So this is the front border. And there's a couple things that I'm loving, a couple things that are just like, for me. Right here, this is a geranium called Boom Chocolata. And I planted it because I really wanted a dark leaf in here. And this has your classic geranium leaf, super dark, super beautiful. I felt like this front border was looking a little too sweet and I wanted to make it a bit more funky. Well, look what's happening here. I don't know if you can see this, but there's 8 million dog hairs in this. And I was like, what is going on? Y'all, this thing is sticky as can be. And it is catching every seed head, dog hairs, all sorts of stuff. Like I mentioned, I'm in Seattle. This is urban. So, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I like the color. I like the interest it brings, but I don't know that I like how sticky it is. That's a thing with me and petunias as well. I don't like a sticky plant. It's just, I want to touch my garden. You know what I mean? What is working? The Origeron Profusion. I'm almost at the point where I'm going to start pulling some of this out and spreading it around. But I do love it out here. And then I do have also a couple of Sedum Autumn Joys. They're chugging along. They could probably use more sun, but it is what it is. Now, something I'm working on is I've got a few holes. And by the way, this is a real garden. So have I cleaned any of this up? Nope, I haven't. So this is one of the holes that I am thinking of filling with bedding plants. I also have a big hole here right at the opening. And so I'm gonna show you what we're gonna work in here. I think the color's gonna work. I think it's gonna be really pretty. And then in the fall, just as a heads up, this is a downtown brown iris. And then down here, this one is called Centerline. Centerline was gorgeous this year, and it was actually the only one to bloom. And when I looked in here, this is the only one that actually had a rhizome exposed. And really, with an iris, you need the tippy top of that sucker exposed. It is sending out a lot of new shoots, so she's looking really healthy. But what I've noticed is as this massive birch tree above me, I won't show you my neighbor's house, but as this birch tree drops everything and their mother on this front garden bed, it all gets covered. And then I realized too late that the rhizome has been covered, see right here, and then it doesn't bloom for me. So I think what we're gonna do, see right there, that little sucker, it was all buried. So what we're gonna do this fall is we're actually gonna pull these out and I'm gonna transplant them into the back where the soil's a bit sandier. I can reset them a bit higher. They're gonna get a better pride of place in the garden. This edge of the garden, same thing. I've repeated the plantings here and they just feel like they're ready for some zhuzhing. This has been a lot of leftover plants for a very long time and I'm ready for a new adventure. So right here at the front of the garden, right as you come into my entry, I have a Mexican feathergrass that has gone awry. I'm just not a fan of it right here in this position. Now, Mexican feathergrass is not invasive for me. It is in many parts of the world and parts of our country, but for me here in the Northwest, it is not. However, it's also not looking good here. I just think I cut it back every year. I do the whole thing, but it is not looking its best and brightest. And so in the next couple weeks, I'm actually going to yank this and I'm going to put in a beautiful moor grass that is evergreen. It's more structured. It's a little bit more compact because the thing that this is doing is, do you see how we've got this flopped mess and then you don't even get to enjoy the wildness of the border that is unfolding behind it. And so this is going to get yanked. And I think in its place, I'm going to put in a Ceslaria autumnalis because I'm using them in the back and I just love it. And I feel like it's a way I can start to connect my two spaces. Coming along the front border here, it is a massive riot of florals. And what I think I'm going to actually do is I'm going to give everything a good chop. This is a So White Gara. They claimed it would be 24 inches tall. And I'm telling you right now, some of these little pieces are pushing 5 feet. The other thing that has happened, well, of course, here's the deal. I was going to get rid of my Sedum Autumn Joy, but it looks adorable and I'm obsessed with it out here. Everything is being smothered by this Gara, so I'm going to give it a proper hack back and we'll see if I can save it for this season. The other thing is my Salvia caradona. I've tried a million different approaches. I've cut water to it. I've done a lot of things, but it is still a giant floppy mess. And so I'm going to try, this is one plant that I love it so much. I have to figure out a solution. We've got another one here and we've got more coming down the line. This is my rose border. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to massively cut this thing back. I'm going to hack it to maybe 6 inches from the ground. And then I'm going to install peony supports around it. And we're just going to have them grow up through the peony supports. I'm going to use those hoops that have kind of a grid top because I love this plant. But it's just flopsity in my soil. And I don't know what the deal is. Now, coming down here, I'll give you a little update. Actually, you know what? I'm going to update you on this one over here because it's pushing blooms. This is one of my trial plants. As many of you know, I received a grouping of trial plants from Terra Nova. Now, the only reason I accepted these is because it's a brand I know, it's a brand I love. I have literally purchased thousands of their plants at this point over my career, and I was so shocked when they sent these to me. This is a Phygelius. It's called Colorburst White, and my hope is, do you see how I have this little vacancy? Oh, by the way, that iris is Thornbird. That is also getting transplanted. But I've got this little vacancy right here. And I am hopeful that this Phygelius will do its best growing and we're going to get this area filled. Down below it, I also planted an ajuga. This is called Nova White. It's just finishing up a couple blooms, but there's a ton more buds that are going to come out. So trialing this one as well, and we're just going to see how she goes. But I am actually really loving the deep glossy green here in amongst this border. It feels like a beautiful anchoring moment. Now, showing a few of these pots that we've got going on, we had an irrigation issue. And so some of these are looking a little worse for wear. So I'm playing catch up with fertilizing and all that good stuff. But look at this. This is hyacinth bean. It is a quick growing annual. And what I decided to do is I wanted just a wee bit more whimsy out here. And so I am going to train it up my pergola that you can see right here. It's a thin pergola structure. It's more bulky from the front and then kind of disappears from the side. But I'm going to go ahead and train it up the top. And with any luck, I'm going to have hyacinth bean covering this structure. But this is just, it's kind of a very whimsical container arrangement. I've got this beautiful smoky salvia. I'm about ready to cut it all back for a new flush to come on because look at this. The second it stops, like as soon as you're like, oh, the show's over, more comes on. Beautiful, beautiful rose salvia. I threw some basil in there. I threw some Artemisia in there. I am loving Artemisia this season. I'm really loving it. And then trialing a new sweet potato vine. I always try new things in my own garden to see how they do before I run the risk and put them in someone else's garden. And then we have a little pot of leftovers here. We have some Angelonia. I have a Super Tunia Jazzberry, little black mondo grass to keep it funky, and then a sun-tolerant coleus here. So again, a little funky, a little vibrant, definitely leaning into a more eclectic vibe out here. And then this, my friends, is an incredible, incredible pelargonium. I do need to come in here and clean it out a little bit. It's getting a bit woody, but I want to show you the blooms. Look at that gorgeous kiss of a bloom. This is a Pelargonium pseudoides, I believe it is. It was started from a clipping from a girlfriend of mine, Nancy, down in Castle Rock. I was in her garden, and actually, maybe I'll link Nancy's video below because she is a fabulous gardener and as a former nursery owner as well. And so anyways, I need to give this cutie a proper clean out. I've got a lot of dead in there. But then she's already pumping out the blooms and it's just going to keep getting better. Before we go to the back garden, I want to show you my table of treasures. Here's the deal. I was going to apologize for it. I'm not going to, because I know every single gardener has a table of treasures. Maybe it's a corner. Everyone has a working spot, but I've been collecting a few things that are awesome that we're going to put in the lower garden. And then I also want to show you a triumph. I have a plant that has bested me for the last 2 decades, we'll call it. And you guys, I finally did it. I finally did it. Okay, table of treasures, and I'll tell you why they're out here. I was at, oh my gosh, Sky Nursery. If you're not familiar with Sky, I love that place. And they had this eucomis from Little Prince. It's called Dark Star Dwarf Pineapple Lily. Would you look at that bloom that's coming out? I am so obsessed with this. I planted some of it in my garden. I don't even think I showed myself planting the eucomis on the internet. I think I just was having a day and I wanted to put something cute in, but I'm going to show you where these next 3 are going to go. And then also right here, I have more of my penstemon blackbird. I will show you in the back garden, but this has been one of my favorite perennials that I've added to that space. It just holds its own. It holds its own. Never you mind bag of irrigation. Like I said, we had a solenoid go toes up in our system. And so we're just doing some repair work. And also I'm going to run new drip line to all of the pots out here. But this is what I wanted to show you. This is a Superbena pink cashmere. And I have a bunch left over of that. I have a bunch of Alternathere. This is Plum Dandy left over. And I also have Supertunia Silverberry left over. And I actually think this little combination is going to be awesome to enhance the front border. Like I said, I'm not a bedding plant girl, but when you got free leftovers after an installation season, we're going to use them. We're going to use them. So as many of you know, I have essentially like an eating area in my front garden. Our house is quite small. So like think just over 700 square feet per floor. So we're in a very compact living environment. And so I wanted to capture this front yard garden space. So behind me is where we just were. That's the dining patio. And then across from it, it feels appropriate that this is our edible growing zone. And this, sometimes we call it the parterre. Sometimes we call it the potager. I feel like both can be used. Parterre because we actually do have this line of boxwoods that encloses this space that feels really held and sweet. But then potager because it's like that classic growing edible space. And to my left here, you guys, I finally did it. I finally did it. I have grown a proper head of cabbage and it keeps getting better. Okay, here's what I've learned. I think in years past, I was being greedy with my space. I was trying to grow it like 12 inches apart. I was trying to like really consolidate that growing space. Now, do I think you could go 12 inches apart? I think you probably could, but you're going to have to fertilize this stuff like your life depends on it. And so what I've done this year is I've gone 18 inches apart. I am doing fertilizing every couple weeks. I'm using a granular. In fact, I'm using a Garden Tone from Espoma. That's my favorite. I've trialed a bunch of them. That's the one I love in terms of a granular formulation. And then behind it, you guys have got my green beans. And I grow things vertically up this trellis. It's called a Frere trellis. It's made by my friends at Seattle Urban Farm Co. I won't go into it, but Hillary and I have known each other for several years. And her and her husband, this is their company. And it is a fantastic product. In fact, we have bought them for Brian's mom and Brian's grandma, and then installed them when we were back in North Dakota a couple years ago. And I love to install things vertically here because it feels like a curtain and it feels like I can now be in my front garden area, even when maybe I'm in a more introverted mood. And here's what else is really funny. Do you see how like this is the tiniest baby and then they keep getting bigger and bigger? Also, let's just zoom in. This is like my 1980s Cabbage Patch doll dreams. This thing is so gorgeous. Look at that perfect head of cabbage. I am obsessed. This one had the most pressure, as you can see. I've been out here picking little cabbage moths off this thing like it is my job. But this sucker, man, I tell you, I went out of town for a couple days and this bad boy got completely attacked. And then this one further behind, but little cabbage is still forming. I was like, oh gosh, what is in there? Okay, it's just a spider. It's just a spider. I hate squishing cabbage moths. It's just so gross. But these leaves are clean. So this one is just struggling a bit more, but I'm going to take my wins where I can get them. I'm going to take my wins. Before we go down to the back, I want to show you the size of these tomato plants for reference. Okay, this is your reference for what a tomato plant typically looks like in the Seattle area just before June 1st. So here we are down in the cut flower pathway. And this area is coming along. I'll spin you around so you can look at my vista of all of the dahlias that are popping up. You guys, I didn't even pinch out half of them. They're just off like a shot. So I may still pinch out a few of the centers, but I've really been on them like a hawk because I am struggling with pest pressure this year. I've had a lot of leaf hopper. I've also had to pull 3 different dahlias for this virus. Essentially, you get like a little mosaic pattern on the leaves. And what's so interesting is I didn't add any new dahlias this year, yet I am still experiencing virus. So I wonder, number 1, was it dormant? Or number 2, is the leaf hopper pulling in virus from another dahlia, or potentially I had a dahlia that was dormant and now it's passing, that had a dormant virus and now it's passing it through. We're not going to cry about it. We're not going to get upset about it. We're not going to freak out. I'm pulling them and I'm planting zinnias, which I just feel like let's have some fun. Let's have a good time here. But I'm going to turn you around and we're going to go into the cute little greenhouse because the baguette is making some tomatoes like nobody's business. Here's our cute little cut flower pathway. Okay, guys, I am loving this consolidated space. I feel like this is so manageable now. By the way, along the way to the greenhouse, I've got a few little vining elements. Now, this one is cup and saucer vine. You can see I have been generous with my Repels-All application. Those dang bunnies are just after this thing like it's their job. I mean, I guess it is their job to eat, but they're annoying me. I'm trying to be a good neighbor, but I'm having a hard time. And these are my scrolls from AgriFrames. Let me bring you down here. And these are my vines. This is called Love in a Puff. And this one, with a little bit of heat, is finally taking off. And I'm hoping that they are going to be climbing these cool rusted trellises from AgriFrames. I got these when I was in the UK for the Chelsea Flower Show. And what's really cool is you can kind of mount them several different ways. And that's what I've done here, because I did want it to feel a little whimsical, a little carefree. But anyways, that is what we're doing there. Of course, we have our new hose link installed, which is changing the game out here. And then this right here, this is basically a little wire cage around my zinnias. I just protect them when they're young, and then when they get a little bit older and tougher, I take them off because the bunnies really leave them alone when they get to a certain point. The other thing I've done down here is I've planted Cerinthe. I saw this at Sissinghurst and I was obsessed, and I just decided I gotta have it in my garden. And so I've planted some Cerinthe down here. I don't know if it'll do anything this year, but you guys, we're giving it a go. Look, here's another one down here. Is that so cute? Okay, coming into the greenhouse, I've got a tomato issue. So friends, here we are. These are tomatoes and peppers growing in gorgeous zinc planters, again, from AgriFrames. And by the way, my greenhouse is a lamb's greenhouse. and we call it the baguette. My youngest son named it, and it's in a beautiful olive green color, and it has this gorgeous sunshade. Let me actually open this up a little bit. Please hold. I'm still very much learning about growing in a greenhouse. I've never done this before. So if you have guidance, you have experience about growing in a greenhouse in your own backyard, please share your wealth of knowledge with me because I so learn from other people. Well, here's what happened. Yesterday, I was in making my cup of coffee and looked down at the greenhouse. And do you see what I see there? Okay, this is a mortgage lifter tomato. So I knew it was going to be big, but it has literally busted around the shade cloth and is now touching the top of my greenhouse. Now, I don't have a whole lot of fruit to show for this. Right now, it's all show. Right now, we're getting a good show, but we don't have a lot to kind of say for all of this growth. So I'm considering topping this tomato. So the reason I showed you the tomato up front is because that is what I am used to in our Seattle region. I am not used to this. This does not happen before July 1. This doesn't even hardly happen at the end of our summer. We're talking like September, October. I don't even have this going on. I might have like a 4-foot or almost a 5-foot tall tomato, but I don't have that. This one is a bit more respectable. This is my Cherokee Purple, and I have some really good fruit coming along down here. It's actually like really nice and chunky. I am having a bit of blossom end rot issues, that's not unusual. Cherokee Purple, I find, needs a lot of babysitting at times and is a bit more sensitive. And so, but it's also like my favorite tomato. So I'm going to put up with her, even though she's a bit of a drama queen. Okay, back to this beast and a half. What do I do? I've never had a tomato this big, and it needs to not consume the greenhouse, but it's kind of fun also. So I've never topped a tomato, but have you grown a mortgage lifter? Did it do this on you? And also, what are your thoughts on topping tomatoes? I'm about ready to get in here right now and start snipping, but I would love to hear from you if you have indeed tackled something like this before, and what's your guidance? What's your experience? I'm always learning, and I'm certainly not immune to it. So as you walk down kind of towards my fence line, I've created a bit of a vignette here to play with some more hot colors in my garden, because I do gravitate towards more pinks and purples and blues and whites. And while I love actually a shot of yellow and a shot of orange, I don't have like a red zone. And so I've started playing with some of that down here, and I'll show you what inspired this entire thing. It is actually this hydrangea right here. This is called Cherry Go Round, and you can see it just starting to burst open. This is a gorgeous cherry red hydrangea from Bloom & Easy. Super compact. It's a macrophylla, and the reason I fell in love with it so hard is actually because of the fall color that it gets. So this hydrangea actually turns a beautiful, deep, inky, like purpley black. It is so fantastic. So I planted a little drift of them here. This is a buttermint camellia. I've got all of my irrigation kind of working bits back there. And so I wanted to screen it a little bit. And so what I did is I put in these awesome lilies. This is a lily flora plano. It is an incredible orange spotted double lily. Guys, these are from Costco. I'm not even kidding. These are from Costco. I bought them. I love them. I've scattered a few of them here. I scattered a few of them kind of up this side garden. That's really like, it's not anything to report home about, but I love that it brings just a wee bit of whimsy and height back here. Also, like this one is almost 4 feet tall. It's so good. And then behind it is this little reclaimed thrift piece that I found at the side of the road. And this holds my trailing tiarella. This is called Appalachian Trails. And you can see it's really starting to go here. And I've intermixed it with Lismachia. This is Golden Creeping Jenny. I believe this variety is called Goldilocks. And it's just happy, living its life. What's so cool about this Appalachian Trails is that it sends off the sweetest little spray of white flowers. And I just love that I haven't gotten anything floral here It's just a sweet little moment. And you know what? Oh, it's going to do what I thought it was going to do. Do you see this? I swear, I talked to my plants and I was like, okay, wouldn't it be so cool if you guys grew up and you trailed over the fence so my neighbor Michelle could enjoy you too? So anyways, in my head, I was like, oh, that would be the fantasy. You guys, look, it's going for it. Yes, I love it when this happens. We're going to stop here before going down just for a moment because I love the visual of this garden and its pathways. It feels meditative to me. So we call this Center Island the leaf. And this is where I'm experimenting with some modern meadow planting schemes. And so I'm going to take you down and I'm going to show you what we've been up to and some decisions that we just made about the casita. So starting here in the bottom of the garden, I'm actually feeling really good with how far this little area has come. I'm playing with a lot of dramatic tones. So I have my Acer. This is Kung Peel. It was a gift from my friends at Isley. I have my incredible sedum down here. This is puff pastry white chocolate. I will take you in to take a look at that. Down here to the left, I have my Weigela Stunner. And then you guys, my poppies are putting on the show of a lifetime this year. And I will take you in and I will show you those as well. This is the view that I get when I walk up from parking my car. So let's start with this Weigela Stunner. Obviously the blooms have faded, but look how much growth it has put on. That is so wild to me. It is so happy down here in these sun conditions. I'm also secretly hoping I might get like a random little second burst of flowers. We'll see. But you guys, when I planted this, it was like this tall. So it's put on a good 8 inches of growth and it is loving its life down here. And I feel like that color really sets the stage, pulling it up to my Acer Kung Peel. And then also down here, this is the puff pastry white chocolate. And I don't know if I've showed it in bloom yet, but it comes out with these creamy, creamy blooms. And the other unexpected thing about it is, do you see this stem color? It's a deep, beautiful raspberry. It's not on all of them, but it's on the more mature ones. Well, it pulls in my Munstead Wood Rose perfectly. We're between flushes. Actually, that's like the last of them, but I've got more little babies coming out here. I need to come through the garden and do a proper deadheading. I feel like I'm out here every 2 days doing it, but look at that gorgeous Munstead Wood. That is such a beautiful pairing. Also, I had someone ask me about different watering needs and watering conditions. I'm not concerned about it with these guys. I've seen them trialed in test beds where they're receiving the same amount of water as a wide variety of other things. And these guys seem very unbothered. They seem very unbothered by it. If it does become an issue, then I'll just simply take out these lines. We can cut the lines right here and tie it back in and kind of skirt this whole area. So we'll just keep an eye on it, but I don't think it's going to be an issue. Back here, these are some of my poppies. I have several growing in the garden. This one is called Black Beauty, and it has sort of a lighter purple edge that fades to black in the middle. Actually, you know what? I wonder if that's Lauren's grape. God, these actually look like two different varieties. This is more what Black Beauty looks like. It is just gorgeous. But this one here, you know, what's so funny is I actually thought my Lauren's grape, none of them came up. But I clearly labeled this entire section down here Black Beauty. Oh, that is interesting. Okay, guys, mystery abounds. One thing I would do differently here is I was not expecting them to be 4 feet tall. And so probably next year, I'll create like a really simple stake, maybe even just a singular bamboo pole. We'll figure something out there. Now, the other, oh no. Oh God, I've got to put down more repellent. All right, guys, bunny damage. Here we are. I cannot believe that little bugger. Okay, it's not touching the leaves. This is a new echinacea to me. This is Princess Citrus. It is so cute. It has very leathery leaves, very sandpapery. I did not think the bunnies were gonna get after it like this, but clearly they've sampled the petals and they've found them to be maybe just mediocre. You guys, it only nibbled like 3 of them and left the rest of it alone. Okay. I'm going to put down more deterrent, but I'm loving this color. You can see the gorgeous bit of cantaloupe coming through there. Really, really a sensational variety. That's another trial plant from Terra Nova. I'm spinning around and I'm like, ooh, where do I want to take them next? What other updates do I want to show them? There's been so much stuff going on. There's just been epic amounts of things that are going on behind the scenes, things that are coming into bloom. But I think maybe we will continue with the poppy tour because it's so good. And I'm probably going to plant like 4 times the amount next year. But everything in the modern meadow is coming along. Now, I want to be very honest. I feel dissatisfied with how much open space I'm seeing. And part of that is because I'm used to going in and blowing out gardens and having them be like full and lush and fully planted within 2 days' time, right? That is what I'm used to in my professional life. However, that is not normal. I just want to be very clear. That is not normal. The normal cadence of a garden is slow and steady, one thing at a time, constant curation. And so I'm having that split between my professional and my personal life. And so I'm letting this be a slow process. But let's take a look at this guy. So that previous variety was almost 4 feet tall, maybe a little bit more, and it's called Black Beauty. This one was simply labeled black, and it's a bit shorter. So it's about 3 feet tall, but it is loaded. I mean, would you look at the size of this? This sucker is massive, and it's been blooming its little head off for a couple weeks here, and I'm loving every single second of it. And what I think it's doing is I actually think it's pulling a bit of drama and depth through here, and it's preventing my modern meadowscape from being too sweet. That's one thing about my garden is I don't want it to ever feel too sweet. I want it to feel rich and lush and like someplace that you really want to explore. Now, what is really surprising is my liatris. You guys, the bunnies went after my liatris this year, but despite it all, look at them. Look at this thing. This liatris is going for it. This is another Costco purchase. You guys, I am a high-low shopper in everything. So am I going to drop some serious coin on like a vintage, beautiful, heritage French piece? Absolutely. Am I going to shop at Costco? Also, absolutely. That's just my aesthetic. Now, one combination that I'm loving here is my Agastaki. This is called Blue Boa. I purchased a ton of this. I love it. And I have it paired here with my Little Red Fox blue stem. This is a blue stem grass from my friends at Bloom and Easy, and it is gorge. It is gorgeous. It is adding such intensity and almost a ghostly quality to this modern meadow. Do you see how with this particular blue stem, there's almost a haze around it because it's bringing through purple as well as red? You guys, I am obsessed with this grass. In fact, this is the one where originally I had a trio here and I had a trio there, but I got it in the ground and I was so in love with it. I actually, on my trip back up to Canada, I asked them if I could have 2 more. I mean, do you ever do that where you're like, oh yeah, this is going in for sure. And so right here, I have a drift of 5. And you're going to notice I'm doing a lot of amorphous shapes. And what I'm working to do when I create these shapes is draw the eye on a journey. So when you're thinking about planting in 3s, 5s, so on and so forth, I want you to pull back from placing things in a row. I want you to pull back from like not thinking through where your eye is being led by drift formations. I'm going to give you another example as we kind of come around here. By the way, we're going to go over there because I've got a really cute plant that I want to show you, and I discovered it in my friend Camille's garden. So I'll show that to you in a second. But this is another example over here. I've got my Katsura Heronswood Globe. I've got my trio of Moonrock hydrangeas. But then I have what looks like a little haphazard drift of Cecilaria autumnalis. But what I'm doing is I'm shaping the eye into the bed to start this beautiful journey down this particular border, which, by the way, I have so much to do down here. It's not even funny. It's actually stressing me out a little bit. But in the interest of being a very authentic gardener on YouTube, and on the internet in general, I'm going to show you the mess. It's fine. We're going to make it. I'm going to quell my perfectionist fears, and we're going to go for it. We're going to show you. Okay, coming over here. I love including plants like this because I want you guys to go out there and search for the weird and funky and fun. This is a Sanguisorba. I don't know if many people play with them. I don't see them a lot on the internet. This is Sanguisorba lilac squirrel. And what it does is all of these little kind of heads of the flowers, right? They come out looking like lilac squirrel tails. They are so cute. And I've placed it along this fence because I kind of like the idea that there might be some height here. I also think that the sun conditions right here are just perfect. It's also a plant that you kind of want to view from below. That was actually a lesson that I took from my friend Camille. So, okay, Camille Paulson, we've known each other several years. We run in the same horticultural circles here in the Pacific Northwest. And I met Camille at an industry event where she was actually inviting people to tour her garden. She is such a generous woman in that regard. She's always welcoming people in. And so what's cool about Camille is she has a sense of playfulness about her garden that it's like equal parts beautifully done. But if you're paying attention, you see her personality come through. You see her sense of whimsy and adventure come through. So she had Sanguisorba lilac squirrel, and it was planted on top of a rockery, and she let it flop. She let it just go flop city over the edge of that rockery. And what it allowed us to do is walk through her garden and engage in this really playful exchange with a plant that normally you wouldn't have that exchange with because it's planted on the ground. So it was like on top of this rockery by her pool, and it was like coming over the edge. It was like so freaking cute. It was so cute. And so behind me is my alley. And this is where I come up from parking my car because my little charger is down here. And so now it's in this perfect position where as I come up, my lilac squirrel is at eye height, and it just gets to be a bit more playful. And so if you are struggling to enjoy a plant that is maybe lower in stature, maybe you pull a Camille. You raise it up a little bit. You figure out how you can get it up to a better eye level so that you can enjoy it more in your garden. Okay, shall we continue? I'm going to show you some cute things and some ugly things. Let's do it. This is the back border. And this is an area that I really have not done a lot with except for weeding. I actually have done a very good job weeding this year. I know, maybe I shouldn't be proud of that, but I actually am super proud of it because I've struggled with weeds significantly in my garden for many, many years. And this is what happens when you buy an older home that no one has been tending to the garden in a significant way. And so let's start down here because I'm going to show you, this is my Eucomis Dark Star, and I have it planted here next to my Helen von Stein lamb's ear. And underneath, you guys, here it is, Penstemon Blackbird. I love this stuff. And by the way, I let my allium seed heads, oh, that just pulled right out. I let them go completely brown, and then they just pull out super duper easily. And if you ever have a question, you literally can come down here and you can just give it a tug. And I feel like if it pulls out on its own, it's time for that little sucker to go. So it's a very slow and steady process here in the back garden, pulling out the alliums. But all that to say, I'm loving this combination. I love the Eucomis Dark Star. I love it with my Blackbird Penstemon. And then we have the freshness of the white hydrangea that is just about ready to pop. Back here, this is the Cislaria autumnalis, which I think I'm going to put in the front border instead of that just monstrous Mexican feathergrass. It got too big, and I'm done. I'm moving on. I've also brought a little bit of the blue boa from my leaf, my center meadow, back here. So I'm going to start tying my spaces together. Now, the rose border here consists of roll doll. So I have a roll doll here, a roll doll on the end, and then this is Darcy Bustle. All right, guys, it is time for Brian to have his moment of glory. Do you all remember last month when I showed you the absolute horrific pruning that Brian so lovingly, he took it upon himself to eliminate black spot. I spaced out for a moment and was like filled with this fantasy of him as an old man pruning roses in our garden, only to turn around and realize he had disbudded the entire thing and hacked it down to within an inch of its life. Well, joke's on me, because Darcy Bustle looks so good. It's stupid. You guys, look at this bloom. Look how happy she is. And what's so funny is because he took her down so savagely, she's the only thing blooming in this border, the only rose blooming in this border. Actually, in my own garden, this is the one that is like showing off. Okay. So, okay, joke's on me. I'm going to let him, you know what? I might let him loose on the honey Dijon in the front border, which I just despise right now. It's really irritating me. But I also want to show you another color combination that you guys, I don't know why I love it, but right here, this is a whole grouping of plants that I had all best intentions to transplant, and I never did. This is a scabiosa, so it's a pincushion flower called Giga Silver. That's this little cutie right down here, and it is blooming its head off. And I have it planted with Astrantia Star of Love. Now, this is like a crimsony raspberry meets an icy lilac. This should not work. This should not actually work. But for whatever reason here, it just sings it. It's so good. And then my Astrantia Star of Love is pulling into my Panther 9 bark, as well as more of that Penstemon Blackbird. And then when you pull back, it also talks to my Darcy Bustle right here. The other thing is I kind of love that Darcy is emerging from this frothy bit of lavender. So while I may rework this border, there's something I like about it. There's something unexpected in this combination. Now, moving down here, I have 3 of these salvias that are called Heatwave Glimmer. But you know what's so funny? This is so much more peach than Heatwave Glimmer should actually be. And I tucked them in here. I had all best intentions of moving them, and it just never happened. But I don't like it next to my rolled doll. It's a little too same. They're not different enough. I want more contrast between these 2 plants. The fact that they are so similar in color, yet just so ever so slightly off, this is not doing it for my eye. So on my list of transplants is actually to move this salvia. And salvia is one of those plants that I never have an issue moving, even when it's hot, because it's such a durable plant. So one thing I'm thinking of doing is I'm actually thinking of putting it maybe down here at this end. I could also maybe put it up here with my Kung Peel, but I just want to create a little bit more separation because I don't know that I like it here next to my Roald Dahl rose. Now, what's kind of funny is, remember how I just showed you this like icy combination with the heat of that Astrantia Star of Love? The same thing's happening here, you guys. I have this Penstemon Blackbird underplanted with a Nepeta. Now, this Nepeta is one called Florina, and I picked this up at Wincliffe Nursery. This is Dan Hinckley's nursery at his home. He was having an open garden weekend, and I went over there and I did some shopping, and I love this thing. Now, it's the time of year when you're going to come in and you're going to start giving your Nepetas a good cutback. I'm probably going to selectively do it here, but you know what's so awesome? Look at this. Okay. I was down here doing some weeding, and would you look what is happening? It is starting to reseed itself. And so I am pumped. I am so pumped because I am for sure going to be dividing this monster next year, sprinkling it throughout my borders because this smoky pink, it just does it for me. And again, smoky pink with the Penstemon Blackbird. The other thing that I think is really cool and why this is working right here in this position, do you see the smokiness right here in that calyx and at the base of these blooms? This actually pulls down beautifully to my puff pastry raspberry sedums down here in the foliage. It has like the same smoky quality. You can kind of see it right there. And then down the way a little bit, I have my verbascum sugar plum, which I love so much and is so happy in my garden. In fact, I actually think I might bring in more verbascum, potentially some taller varieties. But it's that smokiness that is really making it work. And then right here, this puff pastry raspberry, let's see if I can get it to focus. This one that I planted, it's just a little bit smaller, so it's kind of stunted a bit. It had a bit of a rough go at its start of life, but this one is going to push out this adorable, adorable bloom, which pulls it back up again to my penstemon blackbird. Okay, I'm going to show you another area that really needs a lot of work, and so you'll have to bear with me for some imagination. But it is this area of the garden. This area is one I haven't really touched. It feels very disconnected from the rest of the space, and so this is on the priority list for the next coming weeks. This is a rose called Martha Stewart. It has had a very rough start to life. When I first received it, it was squished flat as a pancake. So it's head and shoulders above where it was, but I'm gonna send Brian out here with some snips and I'm gonna let him get after it because, ooh, she's got some disease on her. So here's the plan. What I do love, let's start with what I do love. I love my little drummers, my little drumstick alliums, and how just the very tippy top of my drumstick talks to my blackbird penstemon. Love that. Now what it's missing though is I've got a very like pretty pink rose here, and kind of that's it. Actually, I'm lying. I have a syringa back here. Or no, Syningia. This is a Syningia called Arkansas Belle. This is not a plant that I've played with a whole lot, but it pushes out a pink bell flower with a slight bit of peach to it. So here's the deal. This is too much pink for one area of my garden. I think I'm going to take this Syningia. I'm going to transplant it potentially somewhere over in there because I've got no pink in that area of my garden. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in another blackbird penstemon. So it kind of rounds the corner and it starts to marry this area of the garden back into the other long border. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this area and I'm going to put here my trio of Eucomis Dark Star that I showed you up on the front patio. And now I've got dark up here with the blackbird penstemon, dark at the drumstick alliums, and now I'm gonna have a little bit of shot of dark down here with my Eucomis. And now it's gonna start to feel more dynamic. I wanna show you one more spot out in the garden before we go into the casita, because I'm gonna update you with all of the happenings there. This is the short border. This is the one that is located in the eastern part of the lower garden. The long border is in the west. Okay, here's what I'm loving. Here's what I'm not loving. I'm actually loving all of this. I'm loving all of it. I'm so bananas over it. I just think it is the cutest. I'm actually loving the kind of like darker marigold of this little coreopsis. This is another trial plant. The one issue I am having is something is getting after all of these buds. It's just like, I don't know, maybe I gotta put down something. Maybe I need some diatomaceous earth around it. I feel like somebody's eaten all these buds. So I'm not tickled about that. But what I am tickled about is the fact that that marigold color playing with the smokiness of the plum here. These, oh my gosh, you guys, can we just take a look at these gorgeous puff pastry raspberries? These ones are much bigger than my other ones. And I am like, they're so good. And they play so beautifully with my verbascum. And again, this is sugar plum. I love it. I feel like I need more height. I need more height out of this bad boy, and then it'll be perfect. Okay, next. This is my rose. This is my Danahy rose. I have been waiting and waiting and waiting, and it finally has its first flush of roses. Now, I'm going to scoot back because I want to show you what I'm already seeing a correction that I want to throw in the garden. I want to take my Danahy rose and pull it forward. In fact, I actually think I want it between these two drip lines. That doesn't seem to be a lot, but I'm actually going to be moving it almost 2 to 3 feet forward, because the more I think about it, the more I want it kind of emerging from this deep border. And also in the back here, I'm feeling the need to bring in more height. So because part of it is because I don't like my retaining wall that we're just leaving here, because we're not going to spend 60 grand on it. And so what I'm thinking is, if I move it forward, I can start building way more height back here. And the other thing is, I'm also feeling like I may want to put a little tree right in here. So we're going to see how that goes. But I am feeling like I want to start building a bit more height here. I obviously need to come in and mulch. You guys, aren't enough hours in the day when you're running a business and you're being a mom and you're doing YouTube. There just aren't enough hours in the day, but there's a lot to be done in this area of the garden, and I'm kind of okay with it. Again, I'm accepting this is a slow and steady process, and I actually think it's better for you guys, because no one needs like instantaneous plantings that make them feel bad about themselves on the internet. Okay, this little guy is my Indigo Eyes pine, and it is just starting to throw cones. So let's take a look at that cutie. Would you look at those little blue cones? They are so sweet. They actually get more intense blue as they grow. And then when they finally age out, they almost turn like a near black. And funny enough, this little cutie has actually put on a couple inches this year. I think she's put on 4 or 5 inches. And so it's going to be a long road to 10 feet tall. But I think it is a-okay that we're taking our time here. Back here, I don't know if I even showed these, but this is a great selection. It's a box honeysuckle. This one is called Thunderbolt. It's another Bloomin' Easy. And one thing that I like about it is I just needed some vibrancy. I needed my little red fox casita to stand out a bit more. And I also wanted to make sure that I had a lot of evergreen interest down here, because my garden is heavily floral, very perennial. And so it's going to go dark in the wintertime, which I'm actually okay with. I like that seasonality, but I did feel like I needed another sweep of evergreen elements back here to make things work. And then my little red fox casita. You guys, I didn't think I would get a foot of growth out of this bad boy, but would you look how happy it is? I didn't think this would be taller than me this year, but it is. So for a size reference, I'm about 5'4", and you guys, there's the top of my casita. Okay, I literally, when I planted it, it was this tall right here. It was shorter than me. And so the fact that it has shot up that quickly in this short amount of time, that is a sign that you have the right plant in the right place. And that is half of the key to success, is finding that right plant for that right place. So you guys, I'm just like, I'm tickled. Okay, I want to now bring you into the casita, because we met with our designer. We're working with a friend of ours who's a designer, and Megan specializes in office and studio spaces. And she just has a brain for understanding workflow and asking the questions that I wouldn't even know to ask myself. I am great with outdoor flow. Like, I can design a garden like a boss. I've done it for well over a decade. But there's something about an interior space that just requires a little, I don't know, it's a different understanding. And also the fact that she does studio spaces is really a big deal. So let's go into the casita, because we have made some decisions in there as well. Welcome to the casita. I'll duck in here a little bit more, but this is the casita space, and this is the new Hello Garden studio. And we were setting up for the show, which takes an epic amount of time. And so we had that long, beautiful farmhouse table in here for a while. It's actually gone on to live in someone else's home, but they're a really great family. So I'm very happy for them. But a couple of things. We really haven't had a proper moment to even like spend any thought on this. And we didn't want to shove things in here unintentionally. So I'm going to put you on the tripod, and we're going to walk through the different zones, because out here we've got this beautiful window. This is going to be my kind of like computer work, design work zone. This mid section is going to be probably we're going to leave it blank, because where I'm standing is during the winter months when we want to do some indoor filming. This is where the tripods are going to set up. And then spinning back around here to this back wall. This is going to be my filming wall. We're going to do low storage across the base of this wall. And then also back in here is where I need a cozy spot. So we're starting back on this end. This is going to be our work zone. And we were talking through several things with Megan, and she just gave us such valuable feedback. We are going to go wall to wall desk here with a little bit of storage underneath. A lot of the things that I use for my work are small, right? I've got pens and tracing paper, so on and so forth. So I don't need like massive file cabinets. But the other thing that she had suggested to us is we're going to actually wall mount our monitors, because Brian does a lot of computer work. I do a lot of computer work, but I also like to hand draw. And so for me, I need to be able to clear my surfaces so I can focus on that. I like to lay out books. I like to have lots of inspiration around me. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to mount the monitors on a swing arm behind the desk. And so when Brian is working or when I need to get computer work done, we can pull them out. And then when I am all done with work, I can push them away. Now, the other thing is we need this space to be super flexible. And in fact, we were even thinking there might be some times where I'm setting up a table right down the middle of the casita for a project or for filming something. And so that's why we're leaving this center space open. The return is going to be mounted on wheels, so we can shift it around or we can lock it in place over here. And it's also going to be height adjustable. So we need to find, she thinks she has a good bead on a few of those pieces. So we're waiting to hear back about that. But we wanted to be able to like bring a table out here. And also the other thing is that, let me actually move the tripod around, because one of the most magical things about the casita is this view here. You guys, okay, let me open this up a little bit. Do you see how pretty this is? This is like, if I'm working in here or if I was taking a call for some reason and I wanted to have this in the background, she is so pretty. Okay, also, do you see why? Let me actually go out there. Okay, so I have my little coreopsis here, just kind of as a placeholder. But do you see now how like a little bit of like a water basin or maybe an organic in-ground element in terms of like a water feature? Do you see how like when you look out on it, you really take in this space? I also like the idea that I can sit in a chair right there and look out here and really enjoy it. Okay. Next decision while I'm face this direction is this little cutie. Brian and I had a lot of discussions, and his main takeaway for a decking space out here is we just simply don't want it to be another maintenance nightmare or an issue. Like I said, we're busy. We're in a busy phase of our lives. There's just a lot to do with the business and with our family. So we're going easy. And this is the English walnut. So many of you commented. I love that you were just like zeroed in on my aesthetic. And what's so funny is Megan came over on Sunday and she walked up and we had all these little samples lined up. She literally pointed at this one and was like, "You're choosing that one, right?" And I was like, "Thanks, Megan." So what we're going to do is the TimberTech deck is going to come out to right around here. Okay. So it's going to be a 4-foot deck that extends out this way. That leaves a 3-foot walking path that matches every other walking path in the garden. And so that's why we've always had this massive space here, because I wanted a proper deck. So this TimberTech, it is going to go corner to corner on the casita. It'll come out 4 feet, and that will also allow us to maintain a little seating area, because Brian and I are loving our 2 chairs with our backs against the casita. It's just, I don't know, it feels really safe. It feels like a beautiful spot. And we also love watching the birds dive in and out of the modern meadow. You guys, the meadow, it may not be fully filled out yet, but the meadow is already meadowing. And that is one of the things that we really wanted down here is we want to feel the birds. We want to feel the wildlife. You guys, if I can manifest a hedgehog in this garden, I would die a happy woman. Okay, I want to swing you around to this space because I want to show you what we're doing over here. This is the side of the wall that faces up towards the house. Now, when we were building this, a lot of you asked about why we wouldn't put a window here. And that's a great question. If I was not using this as a studio, I would put a window there because I love light coming in. I love that I might see people walking down the garden. Love it. Now, because this is a studio, this is where we're going to record videos. I can do voiceovers down here. I've been doing podcasts the past couple years with different friends of mine, and that's been really, really fun. It's also like nice when you're doing a Zoom call to have good lighting. So that is why our work surface it has the window coming towards my face. This area is going to have, I just want a singular cozy chair. The other thing, this is actually not a very deep space here. Like the door lines up, honestly, with trim, it's going to be out to here. And so this is really only like 3 feet. So Megan had actually a really smart idea because we are on a budget like most people. And so what we're actually going to do here is we are, unless I find a cool vintage piece, we're going to do upper cabinets, like upper cabinets that you would have in a kitchen because they're that more shallow depth. And we're going to run them wall to wall. And then I think you can see our outlets down here. We're going to cut holes in the back of the cabinets and then push the cabinet all the way against the wall so we can plug everything in and have concealed storage, because that's the thing about me is I have to reduce my visual noise when I'm designing. Like when I go to my kitchen table and I'm designing, if I have stuff all over it, I almost can't focus. So even if I can't process all of that, I'll like take it, I'll put it in a basket and we'll put it on the floor. So I'm just not like looking at it. But anyway, so this is the plan for here. We're thinking of painting it an olive green, similar to the baguette, similar to our front door. And then I'm kind of thinking that we might do a dark stained walnut top to it to match the walnut landing that is coming off the front of the casita. Friends, there we have it. Another beautiful month in the garden. You guys, this garden is constantly teaching me things, successes, failures, things that I thought were failures that are actually giving me beautiful, surprising inspiration for different areas of my garden. We're making progress on the casita finally. Oh, I don't even know if I talked about this, but we finally smooth coated and painted the interior, and it is called Swiss Coffee, which is like a creamy, warm white, which is very much in my color palette for my coloring. Okay, guys, I think that's going to do it for me. Make sure to pick up a copy of Country Home wherever you are. And also, I did make the ask to see if we could film a garden tour at that home because Country Home does feature mostly their interiors. And so they're thinking about it. Cross your fingers because I think it would be super gracious if they allowed us to film there. And it would also be so fun to show you this really beautifully inspired garden that is that blend of English, classic UK aesthetic with a bit of cottagecore, at the same time keeping it classic Northwest with some beautiful things like an incredible maple, oh my gosh, a camellia, setsugeka, like just all of the iconic Northwest beautiful items that we love to include in our garden design. All right, friends, I'm gonna see you in the next one. And in the meantime, as always, say hello to your garden for me.